What's up, poker players? Hope you guys are out there killing it on the tables. Just finished up a quick 57-minute session, almost 500 hands, just 12 tabling. Up, down, and back to even. Pretty uneventful, but we got in a couple hands here. Let's jump right into the action and analyze some of these hands. The first one we're going to take a look at is Pocket Jacks. We're playing at the 25 NL table. 8 of us are dealt into this hand, and we are playing from the hijack. We get a limp from Under the Gun. Under the Gun is a very passive player. Could be labeled recreational, only 338 hands on this player, but is only opening 1% of hands and has a 32% VPIP. Way too many limps, not enough open raises. So this is a great spot to be isolating with the jacks. We probably could have even made it a little bit larger with that high VPIP. Isolation works to perfection. We are heads up in position against this recreational player. Flop is 7 high, 2 tone, and we have the jacks above the board. Our opponent checks to us, and we put in a continuation bet, 2/3 pot, and we get a call. Queen comes on the turn, also brings the diamond backdoor flush draw. We do have the jack of diamonds. Once again, our opponent checks, and I put in another continuation bet. Not many hands are going to be floating the flop there that have a queen in them, so I think the queen on the turn is a good card for us to continue betting on the turn. But we get a quick call, and a 4 comes on the river. Offsuit 4, pretty much a brick, and we get a jam. So what our opponent is telling us is that the 4 somehow made their hand. The only hands that a 4 would make would be a 5-3, a 5-8, or a flop set. Possible with that 32 VPIP. Maybe not an open limp with 5-8 or 5-3, but I could definitely see our opponent playing a set this way, trying to avoid those flush draws, and when the flush draws come in, they know they're good, so they jam their entire stack in. This is an opponent who very rarely bets. Aggression factor of 0.4, hasn't bet a flop, 5% on the turn, 34% on the river. It's a little bit higher, but doesn't show down very well, only winning 41% of showdowns. So I think our opponent is capable of putting in a bluff here with a missed flush draw, possibly holding something like 8-9 suited, maybe 9-10 suited, and we only have to be right 31% of the time here. So I elect to make the call, and I see the bad news that our opponent did flop a set. It was an interesting line to take, but I can definitely understand why a passive player like this would play it this way. On to the next one. And on this one, we're at the 10 NL table. We have Pocket Kings playing from the big blind. We get a limp from Under the Gun +1. Dark Knight 24/7 calls, and we get a bet from the cutoff to 50 cents. Cutoff is fairly loose, aggressive so far, small sample size, only 60 hands, and we are going to be putting in a 3-bet here. Of course, the Pocket Kings make it $1.70. Probably could have made it a little bit larger, but we get heads up, and there is $3.65 already in the pot. Pre-flop. Flop is 10 high, 2 tone, 2 diamonds. We have the King of Diamonds giving us the backdoor diamond draw, and the Kings over the board. We could also hit a backdoor straight draw. This is a fairly wet flop that could connect with a lot of our opponent's range. Put in a bet of $1.90. I think this also could have been a little bit larger to an opponent who hasn't folded to a flop bet yet. If he's going to be calling with everything, we might as well make him pay for those long shot draws that he could be calling with here, or just top pair, because he's probably never going to be folding that either. So he does make the call. There's now 745 in the pot. We have 640 left. Stack to pot ratio is less than 1, and a jack comes on the turn. I like to check on the jack. The jack really doesn't improve too many hands though, besides the exact one that our opponent has. Chances are extremely thin that our opponent would have a hand like King Queen, since we have 2 kings in our hand. Jack Queen improves, and our opponent puts in a fairly sizable bet here, a little bit larger than half pot, about 2/3 pot, and I get the rest in here, thinking that we trap our opponent most of the time, but they improved the 2 pair, and we are drawing going into the river. We need a queen, a king, a 9, or a 6. A lot of outs, and there's the king. Miracle River, and we double up on that hand. this was another interesting one with pocket kings. This time we were playing from under the gun at the 25 NL table. 9-handed, we open to 3x, folds all the way around to the big blind who completes, and we see a heads up flop. Flop is 10 high, 2 tone, 2 hearts on the board. We have the backdoor heart draw, as well as the kings over the board, much like the last hand. Big blind checks, we continuation bet $1.01, 2/3 pot, and we get check raised. From this opponent who isn't too aggressive, pretty regular, decent numbers. I could see this play with a flush draw, a set, or maybe some 10 combos. When I call though, I feel like our opponent might give up on their bluffing opportunities. So I like to call and play some turns. It is the 6 of hearts, and our opponent puts in a 2/3 pot bet again. I feel like a lot of hands would have slowed up right there, except for the heart combos, and I think all that's left are just nut heart combos. 5-6 of hearts probably would have been one of the other combos that I could see a check raise on the flop with, but with the 6 of hearts coming on the turn, that kind of eliminates that hand. So there's a lot of ace x hearts that would be playing it this way. So I think we could find a fold right here with the kings actually, but we don't. We call and we hit a king on the turn. Now we're ahead of all of the flop sets. We're only behind those ace x heart combinations, and our opponent jams all in on the river. Even a lot of the sets I could see slowing up at this point too. The mistake was made on the turn. I think we could have gotten rid of the kings, but that river card is extremely hard for us to fold here, and when we call on the turn, we're most likely going to be calling every river anyway. So I do make the call and see the unfortunate news that we're up against the nuts. Possible mistake. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about that one. Is that one we could have gotten rid of on the turn? Alright, we got an ace. Aces against kings, a little cooler action. We win that one. Don't need to watch it. Then it gets the opposite way. We have queens against aces. We lose that one. And let's jump ahead to the biggest hand of this short session. I don't know if it was the biggest monetary hand, but the biggest big blind hand, where we have pocket sixes at the 25 NL table, playing with 106 big blinds. Folds around to middle position, who opens to about 2.5x. We get a call from the hijack seat, and we also make a call here, being in position against both of these players. Small blind completes, big blind also completes, and we go 5 ways to the flop, which is jack high 2-tone. We have bottom set on an extremely wet board, checks around to the hijack player, who puts in a large bet, a little bit smaller than pot. In this spot with 3 players left to act behind us, I don't really want to put in a raise here and price some of the other players out. The hijack player is already pot committed with only 665 left in their stack, so all that money is going to be getting in on the turn and river anyway. So I like to just make a call here, and the small blind essentially jams, leaving 8-10 left in their stack, but they're pretty much pot committed here. I don't see them ever folding. Hijack calls, and this is a great spot for us to get the rest of the money in here. Hopefully we are not against a set of 8s. Jacks probably would have 3-bet pre-flop, so that is not really a possibility. I think 8s is the only hand we're behind right now. Good chance we're up against some draws, but we are not actually. The only draws that could come are running aces, a jack, or an 8. We're in a great spot, 86% favorite to take this one down, and we fade those cards and we win a $61.60 pot, about 134 big blinds. I think that was the big one right at the beginning. Got us off to a hot start. We are rapidly approaching 1 year since we started this YouTube channel, since we started the challenge. I've pretty much conceded that we are not gonna get 100 grand unless we absolutely go ape shit. Most likely not gonna happen. But I think this is a pretty solid graph. I'm gonna go through and review what we learned in this last year in some upcoming videos. Talk about what's to come for this channel. It's not over. We're gonna keep going. It's gonna be a season 2. We'll continue. We'll work our way up. We might not get to 100 grand quick, but we'll get there. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the future videos. Hit that bell so you get notified when the videos do go up. Head down to the video description for links to all the poker products that I use, including Hold'em Manager, where you can get a 30-day free trial. I highly suggest Hold'em Manager. It is what I use for my on-table HUD, as well as reviewing all of my poker sessions and keeping track of everything that I do, and is a great tool to improve on your poker game. Hit that like button and leave those comments down below. I'll be back soon with a new video, but until then, I'll see you guys out on the virtual felt.
Run with the feeling of being alive while we're jumping off the porch like mom's not home.